coming back to oneness through the science and the numbers and the what have you of what the crop circles, of the whole kind of history of our separation from oneness and our path now back to it. And that was a fabulous, fabulous little, what would we call it? We sat him down and we said, look, give us your show, so to speak. He kind of has this body of communication that he does, and he's, sitting at the computer and showing us diagrams and what have you. And it was a wonderful, wonderful trip through the crop circles back to oneness. Really quite lovely.
Yes.
We do get, we do give the elements of it in the movie.
Exactly. And I think also what I was alluding to with this cyclical movement is it's mimicked throughout history in a number of indigenous cultures, and here we are again with, for lack of a better way of saying it, easier or nicer, the collapse of capitalism, because it just doesn't work anymore. So everything's coming full circle. I want to talk about your movie here, What on Earth? It was the winner of the Best Feature Documentary at the UFO Film Festival and was the official selection of the LA Femme Festival, or La Femme Festival, I like to call it. So the movie basically chronicles your interactions in England with members of the community, from scientists to philosophers to farmers and whatnot, who have been touched by the phenomena. It deals with how our scientific materialistic worldview hampers serious investigation, which we kind of touched on there for a second earlier about media and smearing the idea of the unexplained. You state that knowing how the circles come from another intelligence would help us think as a planet and solve the problems that challenge us now. I've noticed on the link that you sent me for the movie, Suzanne, that you have a John Mack lecture up there and a segment in the movie as well, or a couple segments where John's in there. And for all you in Radioland, John Mack was a professor of psychiatry at Harvard. He was an MD, a Pulitzer Prize winner, a million other things on his curriculum vitae. But most importantly, he was the man at the forefront of the abduction phenomena as a reality and the nature of dualism. Suzanne, do you make connections, or did you, when you made this movie, about the nature of being immersed in the physical world and non-physical states in a predominantly physical world, and the nature of the crop circle phenomena in regard to John Mack? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you believe that crop circles are created by processes that are both physical and non-physical, and did Mack's work influence your conclusions?
Well, let's just say a word about John Mack. He was one of the great beings of all time, in my book, and in everybody's book.
Exactly.
He was unfortunately killed by a drunk driver within a couple of weeks after he delivered a major speech at the major crop circle conference.
Incredibly unfortunate.
He had gone to England to be the kind of outside guest speaker. They always have somebody from a related field at this big conference. And he didn't know anything about the circles. He knew about abductions, and he'd gotten involved in that because he was doing a study at Harvard on what was wrong with these people, what was a psychiatric aberration, and it turned out there was none. He was shocked to discover they were normal people, and that got him very plugged into this whole phenomenon and got him in a lot of trouble at Harvard.
That's right.
Tried to kick him out, which they were unsuccessful in doing. But he was a major being. I mean, just as a human being, he was wonderful. And if you got on the website and saw the memorial things to him, they were staggering with people's appreciation of him. I, too, was a huge fan of his. In fact, the day before I left for my first film, I was on a 10-week shoot on the Crop Circle's Quest for Truth, the 2002 film, which I was the executive producer on. I'm not the filmmaker of that one. It isn't really my film. It's the filmmaker's film. But the day before I left for the 10-week shoot, I had a fundraiser for John Mack at my house.
Wow.
I couldn't resist when I was offered it. I thought, oh my God, I'm leaving for 10 weeks the next day. How can I do this? But I just couldn't resist because he was such a hero of mine. And so I A Passport to the Cosmos, the fabulous second book he wrote. Abduction was the first, which became a huge bestseller.
Yep.
And it's so philosophical about, what could these things be? There's something going on, and, it's common to all these people's experience, and what is that in the being, and what is that in the psyche, and what is that in our fundamental makeup, and what is being tapped, and what is the reality of how corporeal it is, or how abstract it is, or it's such a Passport to the Cosmos is so fabulous for making you think about all of these things and all of these deeper realities. And so, in that sense, I was just a devotee of John Max.
Yeah.
And I was so happy that we filmed that talk that we cut into the film. We have a bit of other stuff of him in there, but we're the only ones who had that film, and you'll see bits of it. It was one of the best talks I've ever heard.
Yeah.
He was so enthralled by the crop circle phenomenon. He had no idea that he was going to be so moved by it. And in fact, the last line of the movie, let's see, is it a spoiler if I say? Well, I probably not, because people won't remember. They'll see the movie.
They're going to see this movie regardless if they're listening to this show.
The most astonishing crossover from the other dimension in the history of the human race, and that was a speech that he rewrote. That was a line from the speech.
Wow.
He rewrote it for a couple of hours before he got on stage, because he hadn't planned on doing that speech when he came over. He didn't know he was going to be so moved by this whole situation.
Yeah.
So, who knows where they're coming from? We have science fiction. We've never identified anything besides ourselves that can do what can enter our reality and move things around, and that has such evidence of incredible intelligence. I mean, what people see with the unsophisticated eyes is very pretty patterns. But if you look with a sophisticated eye, or read what the people write who have sophisticated eyes, there is such intelligent encoding in these, both mathematical and otherwise, geometric and otherwise. People from all different disciplines will say, "Oh, that's a formula for
Euclidean geometry."
Energy, or
yeah.
They can see the relationships and what it is that's being expressed geometrically, essentially, or whatever way the translation is being made of how intelligence is encoded, and there are other ways. But it's fortunate that we have people from people who are highly gifted from different fields of endeavor who pay attention to the circles, and then actually your listeners should pay attention to a website. It's cropcircleconnector.com. It's my website.
Great.
It's the website where, in the height of season, which is where we are now, kind of coming to an end actually, but really they're coming in fast and furious. Every formation will get a page, and on that page, all of these people who have perceptions from all these different disciplines will send in their analyses. And you read, it's just stunning. In fact, if you get on my blog, theconversation.org, I give you a hint of one of them. It's one of the most recent posts. So if you scroll down, maybe it's the second one now. I don't know when people will be listening to this. But Tesla is in the headline of the post.
Nice.
And I put it in there just to show people what you don't understand or see when you just look at pretty patterns, to give them an idea of how much information is being conveyed. Now, I'm tempted to answer a question you haven't asked. Do you mind if I do that?
Please, by all means.
What are we supposed to get from that information?
Yeah.
So they're not giving us, this solves this problem, this solves that problem. They're not giving us formulas for our salvation. They're giving us, I believe, now we're speculating here, I know the information is there, but why? Why are they doing that? And people say, well, like hieroglyphics, when we get all the coding figured out, we'll get the message, or like a jigsaw puzzle. When we get all the pieces, we'll know what they're saying. No, they're saying a lot.
Yeah.
And why are they saying so much? I think for one reason only, to tell us that there is other intelligence. Because once we realize that, we will change everything. Our systems will change, our perception will change, and our systems will change. And I think that is what this benevolence that's out there, that's ahead of us, is trying to deliver to us, a way that we can rethink ourselves. Now, that's my speculation, you know. Lots of speculation. What are they doing? You should see some of the wacky speculations I get. Oh, I shouldn't say that.
Oh.
Anybody by name, but oh, do I get strange speculations? Whoa. I started to sort of keep a file on them, like, oh my God, look what this person thinks is going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, they may say that about what I think, but that is what I think. I do think that's what the whole phenomenon kind of adds up to.
Exactly, and that, in essence, is basically what you're saying is the key to these circles, not who made them or where they came from, but the fact that they're there is making people ask questions again, questions they may have not even have thought of before, and it's really turning the wheels in a forward, progressive thinking fashion. Maybe later the answers will come, but right now, like you say, the message is in the medium.
Well, it's opening people's minds, and then, you know, if in fact it were ascertained that definitively, like in headlines, even though we can't really believe the press, but if the whole world press said, we are being visited, contact has been established, we would be in one conversation here on Earth. It would be, what's going on? What should we do about it? And it wouldn't be today's news. It would be permanent. It would be the big thing going on. It wouldn't go away. We would know that, oh my gosh, something is engaging with us, and we would be speculating. We would be trying to perceive. We would be trying to see through the veil. And then, you know, another speculation of mine, if we were turned in that direction and if we really were receptive, what would they do? They're obviously powerful, and they obviously have science beyond ours. They're visiting us. We're not visiting them. What could they deliver to us that a species that is resistant to them would not accept? Would, you know, people say, well, why don't they land on the White House lawn, for heaven's sake? Well, we'd probably shoot them.
Right.
No?
Yeah.
So I think they're sensitizing us to, oh, the light dawning in us. Oh, something's going on. And then we've got it in our being without being forced to, you know, get hit over the head with it, which would not be the way an enlightened species would try to engage us. But you know, it's very clever, it seems to me, of bringing us slowly to this realization that would change the world so radically.
Yeah, I think we would question everything about everything at that point. Who we are, what the heck we're doing here, why we're doing all this pointless busy work, and so on and so forth. This is where I have the problem with the speculations that Stephen Hawking made recently about these advanced sentiences, or beings rather, coming here being malevolent, you know, and be careful. And although that is a possibility, you can't base everything on the self, on our own human species, because we have no idea what's capable out there. Secondly, they have no reason, there's no evidence to show that they are malevolent, because it seems from the historical record that they've been here forever. And if they wanted us gone, we'd be gone.
Right on. That's a wonderful thing. You should be being interviewed. That was really right on. I'm with you on all of that. And, but I'd say one more thing about Stephen Hawking's movement, which first, of course, shocked us. What? What is he coming up with that? We don't know what's going on. Why plant fear in the minds of people? I mean, there's no evidence whatsoever for that. This crop circle phenomenon is so sweet and so benevolent. Not to mention what you said. God, they could have blown us up, you know, eons ago. They don't do that. So, you know, what is this? If they wanted to invade us, well, hey, you know. The other thing, though, to say about what Stephen Hawking said, see, it's funny from this perspective of the crop circles, where as we are planted, those of us who are so devoted to them and pleased by them, you know, and happy that we are privileged to have this sense of recognition of what's going on, then things happen in the world. You go, oh, that's terrible. Like, for instance, another milestone was the movie Signs. Yeah. So it was like, oh, how could they use the crop circle so manipulatively, and they didn't get any accurate information, and it became a horror film with horrible creatures. Well, wait a minute. There's another thing to say. The public has really not had much exposure to crop circles. There are programs, the cable stations every few years go out and make one, and then they run it for a few years. They're all bad. They're all kind of, they don't know what they're talking about. But nonetheless, you know, there is some awareness that there is a phenomenon, but it's not on everybody's list. And many people don't don't even know they exist.